Welcome to Cordkillers Reckoning. The world of entertainment is turned upside down, and we're just trying to find out how to watch what we want, where we want, whenever we want. I'm Tom Merritt. Brian, where is the good stuff?
Oh, the good stuff. That would be the stuff falling from the skies.
Whoa.
It's raining here in Austin, Texas.
I can't tell which you're more proud of. Your robot camera or the water that is falling on your property right
definitely the water, because I've had time for the dopamine to wear off on these cameras.
On the robot cameras.
The novelty of water falling from the sky. Did you know they do that now, Tom?
I didn't know. I don't. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's some kind of special effect you're doing. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in water falling from
I went to Industrial Rain and Magic.
Make it rain. Literally.
Yeah, that's what they said if they wanted me to make it rain.
Well, in the meantime, let's get right on to the supply run.
Supply run, supply run, supply run.
Brian, I don't trust Netflix anymore.
Oh, well, hold on. Name one time they've ever said something that turned out to not be true.
They said they wouldn't do ads.
Okay, name two times.
They said they wouldn't do ratings.
Okay, just name.
They said they wouldn't do live.
Okay, just
they said they wouldn't do games. Actually, I don't know if they said that, but just throw it in there.
Well, but they did say that they would have games, and now they're getting rid of them. That's another topic.
There's another. Yeah, we'll get to that later in the show. Netflix has agreed to partner with TF1, which is France's largest TV group. It is a private carrier. It has its roots in public broadcasting, but it is a private company. But it has the big broadcast channels. I talked to Patrick Beja for Daily Tech News Show, and he puts it somewhere between the BBC, which is, you know, it's government subsidized, but not government run, and like NBC, which is totally like just, you know, for popular use. And in fact, he's like, it's really more on the NBC side of things. There's a lot of mass media type stuff on there. It's really not trying to be highbrow or anything like that. Anyway, TF1's channels are going to stream on Netflix. TF1's library of on-demand content is going to be available on Netflix. TF1 will continue to offer its broadcast, its cable channels. It'll even continue to offer its own streaming service, TF1 Plus, that you can pay extra for. But Netflix is going to have linear channels in France.
Okay, so past Brian really would have a beef with this. Past Brian would really talk about this degrading the brand or whatever, but present Brian understands that this market was never going to be a static thing. Kind of like, you know, the very idea, like an automobile came into existence, and then what it means to have a car changed over a generation. And I'm a little bit more mellowed on adherence to what your brand means. So, and also it's like, it's kind of predictable. It's like, yeah, this is the part where you over harvest and you degrade your brand, exchanging your good reputation for more dollars. But also these are more numbers to go up for shareholders, I guess. Yay, shareholders, question mark? I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose TF1 gets a check out of it, which is why they would do it, and more exposure. There are a lot more people who have Netflix in France than generally watch TF1 on any given day. So maybe more people will be watching TF1, which will help them, you know, get more programs and then continue to make them for viewing on their own services as well as Netflix. I wonder, because Netflix kind of indicated when they announced this that this wouldn't be the last deal of its kind. Is this the new strategy to say, let's embrace we're all of television and literally try to become all of television? I don't expect this to work in the US, where the main broadcast channels are also big studios with their own services, streaming services, although never rule it out. But in other parts of the world where there are struggling broadcasters, Netflix could probably write them a decent enough check for them to say, yeah, please carry us on Netflix.
Well, okay, and to be clear, the experience here is that linear channels are being carried on Netflix, not that Netflix is a linear channel that is being put out to the world.
Correct.
Although I could see it going either way.
If the story was TF1 is going to sell its library or license its library to Netflix, this would have been down at the end of the show. We would have been like, oh, you folks in France are going to have a bunch more content, right? Netflix signs those deals all the time. It's the fact that they're carrying the live linear channel. You'll be able to turn on a TF1 channel and see whatever's on at that moment. So yeah, we're not putting a Netflix channel on cable in France. We're putting channels on Netflix as if it were a cable operator itself.
So let's talk a little bit about how big data shapes these kinds of decisions, because in the before times when you didn't have infinite down to the second data on when people left and so on, you would have to kind of do best guesses about what kind of programming you're up against. Mm-hmm. But at this level, they know what programs are coming on TF1, and they know down to the minute when people are dragging like, oh, I don't want to leave Netflix, but it's all the way, it's 2 clicks away. And then eventually when they go, then they notice, ooh, once they leave, it takes a long time for them to get all the way back to Netflix, 3 whole clicks back. Mm-hmm. And so that it boils down to, it's like, there is some kind of metric that hints at what their brand value is. There is some kind of metric that hints as to the value, and then it becomes the value of keeping people in the ecosystem so they continue to chew up minutes because there's some actuarial expected long-term value to that subscriber continuing to be happy forever and ever and ever. It's, I don't know, if you think too hard of it on it, it gets a little bit kind of depressing. He starts to feel a bit like we're all programmed in a matrix. But on the other hand, that it's just human nature, I guess. Well,
and I hadn't thought about this till you started describing it that way. There's also the I've run out of things to watch on Netflix problem, right?
And now that is completely gone.
Now you could just have it give you things, right? Just waterfall programming.
Think about this, because there is narrative value to passing the buck. Because if Netflix had their own linear channel, then Netflix is curating. And then when it shows you something you don't like, you know exactly who to blame, Netflix. Whereas TF1 just happens to be there doing this TF1 thing. And if you don't like anything, it's like, oh, TF1, what can you do? To be honest, and this is, follow me on this stretch, this is why I am certain plumbers use dowsing rods. Even though they probably do in their head convince themselves that the dowsing rods work, but I know this much for sure. If a plumber comes into your bathroom, looks around and says, yeah, pretty sure the pipes are there, knocks a giant hole in the wall and the pipes aren't there, that plumber's going to have some splaining to do. But if a plumber uses dowsing rods and then the dowsing rods indicate that the pipes are there, they break a hole in the wall and the pipes aren't there. Ooh, these dowsing rods, they're not 100%. Now let me do a hole over here. There are the pipes.
And by not 100%, I mean there's 0%.
Well, I think that there is a bit of a social construct, and then there is a dollar value to that.
I've never had a plumber use a dowsing rod.
They're wildly popular. Like,
have you ever had a plumber you hired use one?
No, but in my lifetime, I don't know that I've ever even had a plumber need to dig a hole in front of me.
I definitely have. And he didn't. Yeah. I'm sad is what I'm saying, that he didn't try to use a dowsing rod.
Well, you know what? For all you know, because they sell very fancy electronic looking gizmos that are actually dowsing rods. And it may be that it's like, let me use the gizmo. It doesn't matter.
Maybe he didn't. I just don't remember that. You're probably right. I do remember he had fiber optic camera though. And he went down my toilet and then guided it out and showed me on his phone what my lateral line looked like and the tree branch that was blocking it. And that was pretty great.
That's crazy. How far off are we from doing that to our own arteries and veins?
Not far at all. I think they do it now.
I think that's at the doctor happening. Level, but I'm how far until
how are we
your whole movie is like,
right. Anyway, back to TF1, where
Boy,
you
that
could
went
probably
places.
watch a medical documentary that tells you all about this, because TF1 doesn't just have dramas. I think that's the other thing for us to acknowledge. Patrick Beja was like, yeah, they have sports. They have news. They have things that you don't get on Netflix. Like, you can turn on the evening news on a TF1 channel on Netflix. You can watch a soccer match on Netflix. Like, this gives them access to a bunch of content that might be too costly and prohibitive for them to show otherwise.
You know what, Tom? This may surprise you. Brian Brushwood is going to hit you with a metaphor. Actually, a simile. You know what this is like? This is like when you want to go outside, but you don't want to be outside, you know, what with all the bugs and the heats and the whatnot. This is a screened in porch.
Yeah.
This is your air quotes outside. Very easy to get back inside to where the real Netflix is.
You know, I'm actually going to take back what I said earlier when I said, like, I don't expect Netflix to do this in the US. I wasn't remembering that cable channels are being spun off from both Comcast and Warner Brothers Discovery and will be looking for revenue streams to keep their spun off corporations running, and will already be licensing content to Hulu Live, YouTube TV, DirecTV. Like, Netflix could come up with some kind of licensing agreement to be like, let's carry MSNBC, let's carry the Disney Channel. Like, they can't get the back library like they are with TF1, so it wouldn't be the same kind of deal, but maybe they would do that.
Well, and think about this. If you are only doing it to keep people in your ecosystem and to solve the "but I watched everything" problem and keep them, air quotes, inside on the screened in porch, then what you want is kind of a garbage version of outside. So it's like, oh, you want to go outside? Go outside right here inside. Ooh,
Yeah.
outside. Pretty garbage, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? We got a new Stranger Things, and they're gonna come back in.
Yeah. And honestly, they don't have to do must carries anymore, because you know, the whole cable system has been broken. So they can say, like, yeah, we're not going to carry every channel you have. We just want a couple of these, right? And they don't have to have a complete cable service because they're not really competing with cable. They're Netflix. They're adding on. They're giving you bonus stuff when they do this. So they can afford to be like, yeah, we don't have all the channels, but we got a bunch of them. Maybe we have the ones that keep you from needing to go anywhere else.
Yeah, no, I 100% believe they'll do this in the United States.
I definitely believe they will do it in multiple countries. And I think you're right. I think they will do it in the US. It'll be interesting to see what channels they end up partnering with. Maybe this is going to get me in trouble, Brian. What if they fund PBS?
That's a PR problem for PBS, because then, like, they can accept checks, but that moves like they can accept donations without harming their public image. But if they have a residency and are just, well, I don't know.
They're already getting Sesame Street.
They messed around with Sesame Street, didn't they?
Netflix has got Sesame Street.
Cordkillers@gmail.com.
Yeah, I should probably not phrase it as fund PBS, but like, what if they made a deal with PBS that was lucrative enough in the licensing that,
I mean, who's going to be mad that PBS is available on Netflix? Ooh, that's pretty good.
It's actually a PR win for Netflix too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, for now, just TF1 coming to Netflix. That's the other part. I got the sense that this is just going to be in France. And I don't know if that's because TF1 has other entangled licenses around the world, but I would be cool. And I would expect Netflix to want to be able to make this available around the world. Like, you know, you should be, if you're a French speaking person anywhere in the world, you might want to watch content on TF1. So, yeah.
Yeah.
We will tell you if that happens. And you'll get to hear it first if you're a patron at patreon.com/cordkillers.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Not only are you keeping us loud, live, and independent at patreon.com/cordkillers for what, 15 years? No, over 15 years.
Jeez.
Wait, no, around 15 years.
Yeah. 15-ish years. It was 2013.
For
Since
a
2013.
long time.
Yeah.
But you also get early access to the full experience. You get exclusive access to our After Talk segment. And you get to hear it's spoiler in time. Thank you very much to our fabulous patrons at patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Let's move on to the search party, shall we? Those of you who are patrons and listen to our After Talk know that we came just short of choosing Land of the Lost as our full experience. And to be honest, we're going to choose Land of the Lost as our full experience after 24. And it's especially going to happen because apparently a reboot of Land of the Lost is in early development at Netflix.
Yeah, I'm just going to say there are times, Tom, that I just marvel at the influence that we have. It's very wild.
Yeah. 7 days ago on After Talk, and then boom, this happens. Sid and Marty Krofft are attached as executive producers. Deanna Croft Pope also set to produce. So this is going to be in the family, and what better timing for us?
Yeah. Well, although the only bummer for us is that we look like Johnny-come-latelys, but that's fine.
Well, it's in early development, so we do full experience this year, and then we'll be
we get
able
to already be over it before it becomes a thing.
Exactly.
All right. Thank goodness.
Netflix got a lot of attention because on the list of California tax credits awarded to film productions, there was one for $20 million for an untitled Netflix movie. Now, there's a lot of untitled stuff on these lists, but $20 million in Netflix turned a few heads, and everybody tried to figure out, well, what is this? And according to Deadline, it's David Fincher's Adventures of Cliff Booth, starring Brad Pitt, reprising his role from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with a script written by Quentin Tarantino. And this movie is absolutely happening. Pitt said on the F1 red carpet that shooting begins in July. So we know that Fincher is directing a script written by Tarantino that's in this universe. And apparently that's the $20 million Netflix tax credit.
Yeah, this was the threading of the stone needle that allowed Quentin Tarantino to still technically, is he retired or what's his deal with
movies? He always
like
said
that?
He would only direct a certain amount of movies.
Yeah.
And he says, I always intended to continue to write them. I just didn't want to direct them anymore. So yeah. Alamo Drafthouse and Japan's Toho International have announced a multi-year collaboration around Godzilla. You can expect screenings of classic films throughout July already, starting in Silicon Valley and around San Francisco Bay Area. And then a major launch event planned for November 3rd, which I did not know is Godzilla's birthday.
Happy birthday, Godzilla. Apologies to everybody on Bikini Atoll.
Yes, exactly. Is that when he was born? When the Bikini Atoll?
I think canonically, it's some kind of nuclear blast.
Yeah, definitely. Are you still in the Alamo Drafthouse circle these days?
What's funny is just now, like the last time I went to the Drafthouse was to see Friendship because it was an A24 movie. It was the only place I could find it. And so seeing Drafthouse made me remember Friendship. So I had to update what I watched this last week because I watched it a second time.
Oh, very good. I think this is a perfect partnership. It could get me to go to the Alamo Drafthouse in Los Angeles, certainly, because we're big Godzilla fans. So yeah, I'm into this. Sarah Michelle Gellar wants to bring back everyone in the new Buffy. She was talking to Vanity Fair Italia about the reboot, which she will be in. She will not be the star, but she will be in. She said it will be lighter than the last few seasons of the original. We will try to find a balance between new and old characters. My dream is to bring back everyone who has died, but space will have to be made for new stories as well. And if you hadn't heard about this, Nora Zuckerman and Lila Zuckerman are writing and show running, and Chloe Zhao is going to direct the pilot as well as executive produce. Sarah Michelle Gellar is an executive producer as well.
So does it narratively take anything away from the previous iteration if you find out that everyone dead is alive again? Because like in universe, there is an afterlife. And so like ghosts are
I was
real,
going to
so
say, she
not?
didn't say they're alive. She said, bring back everyone who has died.
Right.
So there's all kinds of ways you could narratively do that.
It's a holodeck episode.
Yeah, or it's just speaking to her in her imagination, or ghosts, or there's a million ways to do it. And I think what she's saying is, hey, fans of the original, we're gonna have a good time making this, and I want you to get that juice, that jolt of seeing everybody you liked, but also new stories.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers Discovery has acquired The Institute, a thriller based on the 2019 Stephen King novel, for HBO Max in Europe. This was an MGM Plus original scripted drama, and you may know MGM owned by Amazon. So it's interesting to see HBO Max acquire it. It will premiere in Portugal on the Nordics on July 14th, and France and Belgium on July 17th.
Are we willing to accept that Stephen King books can be made into good movies now?
I think so. It's not a lock, but yeah, sure. I mean, The Shining is a great movie, right?
Well, The Shining was always The Shining and Carrie were always
it was the exceptions
outliers.
That proved the rule. Yeah.
And of course, The Shining was famously, King hated it, and et cetera, et cetera.
And this last one really makes me keep doing mental gymnastics. The novella Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad is being adapted into an animated feature with voices from Michael Sheen, James Norton, and Bill Nye, having already recorded, apparently. It's going to be directed by a Welsh-based BAFTA-winning filmmaker named Gerald Kahn, using animation techniques he specializes in that use sand on glass. It will be the first feature-length sand animation. So there's that, that's really cool, the animation technology. But then I have to keep reminding myself this is not Apocalypse Now, which is based on Heart of Darkness.
I am so happy to hear you say that, because I literally 1 hour ago had to ask ChatGPT. I'm like, explain to me the relationship between these two movies. And it did a great job. I was like, oh, thank you very much for the parallels.
In my head, though, I can't stop thinking of a sand-based animation of Apocalypse Now. And I'm like, no, it's the actual Heart of Darkness, which is set in 1899. And it's an entirely different story, although it has similarities to Apocalypse Now, which was set in Vietnam.
It was close enough to, basically, instead of, I think it was Africa, it was Vietnam, colonial Vietnam. And instead of a military, it was a trader who was worshipped as a god by the natives and didn't want to come back. But both of them had the horror, the horror.
There's a lot of things that are borrowed into Apocalypse Now from it. So, but yeah, that'll be interesting to see as well. All right, let's move on to the buried treasure.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
Buried treasure, of course, is when we talk about things that we have been watching, so that you might be able to add them to the list of things you would like to watch. Brian, you already kind of alluded to yours.
Well, this was a week of rewatches, which, is its own kind of unique art form in that when you're not there to watch the plot, you instead get to watch, other people that are seeing it for the first time, and maybe they notice something that you didn't. But you also get to play little games like I told you how complex I found the storytelling in Friendship.
Yeah.
And this time I took like a fourth place character and saw the whole movie through their eyes, and it was fascinating. It was fascinating. Also, my 17-year-old like a vampire feasting on the social awkwardness. It was amazing.
That's great. And then I'm now caught up on Rick and Morty as well. I think the Citadel episode is the one you said where it gets better, right?
Yes. And
I agree.
And so the Citadel, you could tell they were having a good time trying on this genre, that genre. And boy, you feel that even more in the recent one, the cryo civilization one. Did you see that one?
The cryo civilization?
Yeah. No. They come upon a space ark with everyone in a cryo sleep. And so Rick and Morty
I must be one behind then.
Two different social tiers, strata. And it like there's a brief moment that for a good 30 seconds, it's like,
The Last Temptation of Jerry is the last one I watched. You're talking about Cryo Mort a Rickver.
Yes. Okay. So just like The Last Temptation of Jerry was, Easter Claus and so on. And then they did like Prometheus. They did a whole bunch of movies. They continue that trend of very clearly picking up a movie as a shiny object for about 2 minutes and then setting it down and doing something else.
Yeah. Okay. Man, how do I keep falling behind on Rick and Morty? This is a tragedy.
Well, it came out 2 nights ago, and then I watched it this morning. So you're not that far behind.
Everyone I know, and this is not me being annoyed by it, I totally understand why, is saying, hey, did you see K-pop Demon Hunters on Netflix? This is a Sony Pictures animation. So it's basically the people who did Spider-Man for Sony. It's the same style of animation, doing a story about 3 members of a K-pop group who are also demon hunters and have to stop the demons from taking over the world because the demons are trying to start a rival group, a boy band, to take away all of their fans. And then they will eat their fans' souls and be able to conquer the world. It is delightful. It is definitely meant for a teen audience. But the other thing that struck me, Brian, when I was watching it is this is probably for a lot of people who don't follow K-pop, what Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is for people who don't know Spider-Man, which is to say it's good, it's fun, but you're not getting all the illusions that are buried and stuck in there very deftly to smoothly be unobtrusive if you don't get them, but make you go like, oh, that's funny if you do.
So do you think it would read like to you? Were there any that you didn't get? I mean, I'm certain there are some that you missed that went over your head.
I don't know because I didn't get them, but there were plenty that I did that I know most people would not.
Right. And you're getting to my real point, which is, were those moments like we saw in Andor where the music swelled a little bit too long? You're like, oh, I guess that's a guy from Rogue One or
sure.
Something. You know, like, did you have those moments?
I think there might be a couple of those in there, but more of them were just like, oh, no one would notice that was what they said. Mm-hmm. But if you're in the fandom, you're going to be like, oh my God, that's such a totally thing that X does, you know? And it's that kind of like very clever writing that I think lends itself well to this. The story itself is very predictable. You're not getting the level of story that you would get in Spider-Man. But that's why I'm like, I think this is really meant for teens because it's not too thick of a story where if you're a little distracted, you can't keep following it. And that's a very Netflix thing too. So that might be a Netflix thing that they added, but it's clever. It's very clever. And it's not something that even if you watched it, you wouldn't be just rolling your eyes at cliche after cliche. You'd be like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, they're doing that. So I think they did a pretty decent job with it.
So in terms of documentaries, fair or biased or how
documentaries?
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm pretending like it's a documentary.
I totally ruined the joke.
I'm doing a bit. That's by the way, if you want to know the Brian playbook, when Brian has no ground to stand upon, do a bit.
Yeah. They really did actually give you, I think maybe this is why I got confused by the bit. They show the actual members of Twice singing one of the songs during the post credits. So you're seeing them in the studio, like documentary style.
Got it. So there's enough real.
So you're like, oh, that's them actually singing the song. So anyway, if you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us cordkillers@gmail.com. It would for the past couple of months now, we've been talking about the same thing, and we're about to do that thing this weekend, and I'm very excited, Brian. So even if it's getting pretty close, I feel like we have to acknowledge the workshop one last time.
Oh yeah. No, we got starting to lay out the exact roller coaster ride for 24 folks who are coming in literally from all over the world for 2.5 days of just finding out how you and I did what we did, how other creators, everyone from Andrew Heaton to Justin Robert Young to Matt Donnelly to Brian Brushwood to Tom Merritt. It's so many threads all coming together. I knew not what alchemy I would open up when I had the audacity to announce I would make stone soup, but here we are. We are knowing what is coming it's going to be quite extraordinary, Tom.
Yeah, man, it's going to be full of fun and education, surprises. I'm going to bring copies of Pilot X and Trigger to give out to everybody that I got. So I'm very, very much looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Yeah. Oh, I guess until Tom finds something else to point the URL to, bestnewsever.com.
Yeah. If you want, is it too late to sign up?
No,
I guess
actually,
if you get there,
we had one cancellation, and so we could fit up to 2 more people. So somebody, statistically speaking, there's somebody who has been on the fence, who didn't know if their schedules would work out just right, who maybe didn't know if it was going to be quite the meet the hype. Allow me to unequivocally state, you have a chance. Take that chance right now.
bestnewsever.com. Let's move on to Scan the Horizon.
Send a scanning to avoid.
Scanning the horizon!
We mentioned this one earlier too. Netflix will remove 20 games from its service starting in July, including all the Monument Valley titles, Hades, Carmen Sandiego, and a few more. The last day you can play them varies throughout July, so you probably want to go look at the mobile app if you want to get a few last turns in. I haven't actually finished Monument Valley yet from Netflix, so I'm going to have to do that.
Do you remember the fairly odd, like 7-minute, I don't know, 5-minute sequence from House of Cards in which the president pressed pause on everything to just talk about how great Monument Valley was as a game? This is before Netflix was doing games, but I wondered what kind of cross-promotional mojo, because it did not make sense narratively, and the thread did not ever pay off. And I never sussed out what they were going for on that.
Yeah, at the time, Monument Valley was kind of a cult hit. So maybe that was just like building the cred of like, oh, wow, they like Monument Valley too. It was an Easter egg, like a really long Easter egg. I don't know.
I guess.
Yeah. It's also interesting to see this many. I kind of thought, oh, Monument Valley, they locked that one up. But no, just like TV shows and movies leave Netflix, games are going to be leaving Netflix as well. I do feel like they're still trying to find their strategy. They talked in the December earnings report, if you remember, about co-op gaming and live streaming with friends and things. So maybe they are cleaning out some of the mobile games to make room in the budget for that kind of stuff. I don't know. Yeah. Acorn TV has reached new viewership highs in May. Acorn, I think, sometimes forgotten as a place for British television. They did a month-long murder mystery event and saw a lot of growth on viewing of Harry Wild, The Brokenwood Mysteries, surpassed 20 million monthly hours watched for the very first time.
Man, every so often, you just put fresh eyes on a genre or a thing. A few weeks ago, we did a bit on Great Night where I said, isn't it weird, like a person kills another person, and so we put him in a cage? That part makes sense. But what happens next is very strange. You decide to have a storytelling contest, and you get 2 professional storytellers who have rules about how to tell the story. And if they mess it up, they get put in a cage or whatever. So likewise, the whole genre of murder mysteries, it's like, so it's a tragedy, but we think it's cute.
We need to figure it's cozy. Yeah. A cozy mystery. Yeah. Google has reportedly cut the budget of its smart TV team by 10%, according to the information. A Google representative shared the following statement with the information. We continue to invest in Google TV with new user experiences, including the upcoming integration of Gemini, which is their AI model. There are more than 270 million Android TV devices, and we remain committed to growing the ecosystem with an exciting roadmap ahead. So Google clearly doesn't want people to think they're giving up on smart TV stuff, but it does sound like maybe they're deprioritizing it a little.
This is interesting, Tom. In any other decade, I could not see this as anything other than an acknowledgement of it being deprioritized. And yet, there does seem to be this petrichor-like moment of AI abundance. Like if I was allocating money for programmers, like, do I need, like, surely I guarantee you, whatever they're spending right now, 5 years from now, they'll get at least 200 to 400% more out of their programming team, right? So it's like, why wouldn't you? Do you need 400% more out of them on this product? You only need 200% more out of them. So let's cut the budget by 10% now. That seems fairly reasonable to me.
I also wonder if, given the recent indications that Google is putting a lot of faith in YouTube and talking about YouTube is basically TV now, if YouTube and Netflix realize they are shaping up to be the people fighting over TV in the world, and Google TV and Android TV had a lot of things going on that were content related, and maybe this 10% is Google saying, just let YouTube handle that stuff. Let's just stick to being an operating system. And that could explain it too.
Yep.
On June 23rd, Paramount told subscribers that its ad-free plan will no longer be called Paramount Plus with Showtime. It will be called Paramount Plus Premium. Price remains the same, $12.99 per month or $120 per year. Kind of feels like they're slowly backing out of Showtime as a brand. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Showtime still has, strangely, a little bit of prestige. I guess what? Dexter and what was the lesbian drama?
That says it all, Brian. Dexter and the lesbian drama.
The lesbian one, yeah. It was a buddy comedy. Dexter and the lesbians.
Yeah, I know.
Queer
Showtime still does
That's
have.
what I was thinking of.
Showtime still does have a prestige brand. It's probably just not enough to.
Penn and Teller's BS was on Showtime as well.
It could also work against them. If you're like looking at Paramount Plus and you see Paramount Plus with Showtime, you think, oh, I have to pay extra for that. Even though you know you have to pay extra for it. If you see Paramount Plus Premium, you think, oh, that's how I don't have to watch ads.
Yeah.
Finally, Netflix sharing a bunch of numbers about Squid Game as it is coming back on June 27th. Total numbers so far, 600 million views globally, and a view is total hours viewed divided by runtime. So it's not just 2 minutes. It's them saying, we know not everybody watches an entire episode, but if they did, it would be 600 million views.
Which means, in terms of what we think of as views, way, way higher. That's extraordinary.
Yeah, it's not impressions, right? It's a total view there. So Squid Game, and again, extremely popular.
So to put it in perspective, when you see a YouTube video, say it's got 1 million views, understand that very few of those videos ever more than 30% make it to the end. So this is reversing it. Like, in order to get this number, they have to assume to completion, which is already 3 times more than what you could reasonably expect.
If 3 people watch a third of an episode of Squid Game on YouTube, that counts as 3 views. If 3 people watch a third of an episode of Squid Game on Netflix, that's 1 view.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the cheddar.
Got mail.
Got an email from Brian C. Not Brian B. It says, hello all, listening to your discussion on advertising, and I wonder, am I typical of my generation? Because I use a pie hole in ad block, I pay for ad-free versions of every streaming site I subscribe to, and frequently still find myself on YouTube searching for videos called something like Sky One Ad Break 1997.
So here's the thing, Tom. When I read that, I didn't want to make the mistake of thinking if he meant that in general or if there was something specific about that one thing. So I typed in that exact search term, and it was exactly what you expect. It was just a ad break from Sky Channel that was 5 minutes long. I hit play, and oh my God, Tom. Something about, I hate ads in the moment, but something about ads from time travel ages ago, 30 years back, I could watch ads all day long. Just being in another time was extraordinary. It was great. Because highly recommended.
It's not advertising anymore at that point. It's history. I think that's the difference, right? When you see an ad today, you know this is a current thing trying to get me to do something. And if you want to do it, maybe you don't mind. But if you don't, it bothers you. It annoys you. If you go and you watch ads from 97, you're like, I can't do most of those. A lot of those things don't exist. The way they're trying to persuade me is not the way you persuade people anymore. And suddenly it's just a time capsule and it's really fun.
Yeah.
Brian said he was waiting for someone to tell him Foundation is great before he pulls the trigger. So John in Bakersfield, California said, let me be the hopefully not first to say season 2 is genuinely great television. First season was good. It sets up a lot of balls in the air that season 2 hits out of the park. It is very much worth your time. It does make many deviations from the source material, mainly so that in a story that spans centuries, we still have the same actors and characters across time rather than net changing cast. How they do that is very clever and remains true to the overall concepts and themes that Asimov was writing about in the books. I feel it is very much true to the spirit of the books, while at the same time making it work as a TV series. With this, Silo, and Severance, Apple is currently killing it with sci-fi stories, and I'm eagerly looking forward to season 3 of Foundation.
And that's without even mentioning the #1 Apple TV Plus original Murderbot as well.
Oh, yeah. Are you still watching it?
Oh, yeah.
It's I feel like it's
cute.
getting better and better.
Yeah,
So,
it's cute. It's cute.
It's cute, but
I mean, it's a short. It's a little love letter.
in some ways, I think it benefits from being too short. I never find myself wishing it would end. I'm always like, oh man, really? We're done already? So I think that's a good thing. George writes, last week I heard Tom briefly mention The Prisoner. I believe this was in After Talk. George says, this show would probably make an interesting test of the 4-episode full experience sampling method. I originally watched the show in the late 60s when it was first broadcast in the United States. Coincidentally, I started a rewatch a couple of months ago. It was always a somewhat strange show, very different from most television. It would be very interesting to hear the Cordkillers' take on it. So when you're picking future shows, I add my vote to that one.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched The Prisoner?
Get behind Land of the Lost, unfortunately. Although,
well, Land of the Lost next, but Prisoner can go on the list. Do you know what The Prisoner is?
Well, I know that it is. Oh, that's right. There's which one was?
It's not The Fugitive. We were talking about The Fugitive, which is when I brought up The Prisoner, and I got confused.
Yeah.
The Prisoner is a British show, and this guy wakes up and finds himself in a village he doesn't recognize, but he's a prisoner in the village, and he doesn't know why. And it's very Cold War.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe, again, if we tickle that kind of time travel thinking, that'd be fun.
Well, folks, that's it for this week. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We are live at twitch.tv/Night Attack on Tuesdays now. If you haven't caught up with that, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll talk to you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.